If you came across that glorious music on the radio, a sort of blind tasting, then you'd probably be assuming that it's by Mozart. Yes, isn't that surely Fiordiligi and Dorabella and Don Alfonso from Così fan tutte? But in fact the music is by Mozart's great Viennese operatic rival, Antonio Salieri, and it comes from his two-act comic opera La Grotta di Trofonio, Trofonio's Cave. Well, you might be thinking, because you've seen the play or the film Amadeus, and therefore know, of course, that Salieri lacked genius, that here he was simply cashing in on Mozart's success and producing his own opera in the same style. But truth is often stranger than fiction. And in fact, Trofonio's Cave was written in 1785, 4 years before Mozart and De Ponte set Così fan tutte. It was premiered at the Emperor Joseph II's elegant palace theatre at Luxembourg, and soon afterwards in the great Burg Theater in Vienna, where it received 26 performances over the next 2 years. Soon it was known across Europe in as many as 30 productions, and it was the first comic opera to be published in Vienna in full score. By comparison, Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, which was premiered by almost the same cast of singers, some of the greatest performers in Europe at their time, only received an initial run of 9 performances. Salieri's librettist was not on this occasion Lorenzo da Ponte. The two had previously collaborated, and Salieri was still smarting from the failure of their work together. So, for Trofonio, he turned to another Italian émigré to Vienna, Giambattista Casti, who said that he wrote it to mock the devil and the magical exorcisms practised by sorcerers and charlatans, and the feigned paroxysms of wild-eyed fanatics and impostors.
It is a typical piece from the Enlightenment, and indeed foreshadows Così fan tutte in several ways. Like that later work, and it's worth realising that Salieri began composing his own Così before giving it up as a bad job. It concerns 2 aristocratic sisters, scholarly Ophelia and fun-loving Dori. Their kindly father Aristone is delighted with her suitors, and so we meet Ophelia's choice, the Plato-loving Artemidoro, whereas Dori, sensibly, prefers someone with a bit of zip, Plistene. Marriages look certain. But, just as in Così, these certainties suddenly become upset. The 4 young people are forced to question their hopes and to consider more deeply their characters and relationships. The Don Alfonso of the story, who meddles with the lives of the other people for his own smug self-satisfaction, is the magician Trofonio, a ragged hermit who inhabits a grotto or cave deep in the forest. Trofonio is something in between a philosopher and a quack scientist, calling on electricity and chemistry to change human destiny. Unwisely, the young men, rambling in the woods, come across Trofonio and accept his invitation to enter his cave. Magical transformation occurs. The earnest Artemidoro emerges, delirious with a new sense of freedom, throwing away his dusty, tedious books of Plato. Fortunately, they find new ownership in crazy, gregarious Plistene, who gets stuck into a good read for the first time in his life. A riotous Act 1 finale ensures confusion. Ophelia and Dori can make no sense of the changed personalities, and their poor father is in despair. The boys, of course, are delighted with their new personalities and hope to gain further enlightenment from the mysterious magician. They enter the cave again, but this time they emerge with restored personalities. Plistene no longer needs Plato, and Artemidoro is delighted to be reunited with his beloved books. Unfortunately, the girls also find their way into the woods and are enticed into the same cave. The result? Demure Ophelia can now only sing jingles. Well, that man is some buffoon, and his grotto's no saloon. That cave is full of gloom in just every single room. So now it's turn for the boys' consternation. What has happened to their previously so well-matched girlfriends? A whole Act 2 finale is needed to sort everything out. Aristone goes in search of the wizard and demands a remedy and an explanation. Trofonio explains the magic of the cave and its 2 entrances. If one enters there the main way but do not leave the same way, then their characters are swapped. Against their wishes, the girls are bundled through the cave and emerge, thank goodness, with their true natures restored. One's studious, one's jolly. That cavern, by golly, the entrance, the exit, each factor affects it. All is as it ever was, and the future assured. But, as in any fairy story, we must question. After their experiences of transformation, of stepping into someone else's shoes, will life ever really be the same? And will they really live happily ever after?
It's really very exciting at Bampton to work on operas which are barely known, and so to allow them to speak again to new audiences. Trofonio's Cave is going to fit into a fascinating sequence of our productions which have shed light on the great masterpieces of Mozart. Works like Gazzaniga's Don Giovanni, Henneberg and Schikaneder's The Philosopher's Stone, Grétry's The Jealous Lover, and Marcos Portugal's The Marriage of Figaro. Trofonio's Cave has had a couple of productions in Europe in recent times, but we believe this will be the first in the UK since the 18th century, and even then it appears that it wasn't performed complete with Salieri's score. It's thrilling too when the music is so consistently inspiring. There's a constantly changing orchestral palette of colours and textures, with especially expressive woodwind writing. The music ranges from the solemn and introspective to the vivacious and quirky. It's all hugely enjoyable.
Tutti gli ospiti a Verno, addio Grotta, addio Trofonio. Via di quando c'è l'esterno, via partiamo, via fuggiamo, da malefico frigo.